Hey everybody, time for some more rice and advice. I had a lot of storms recently, a lot of very high winds, in some cases some very, very high wind, and certainly that's going to have an impact on a lot of our crops. Luckily, it looks like for the most part, rice did not take much injury from the wind. Again, very fortunate in that regard. Happens that most of the rice around is really kind of at a stage where it's a little more flexible. Kind of mid-reproductive or younger, certainly pre-heading. So could have been worse with all that going on, but certainly there is a little to look at as a result of all those high winds. So let's take a closer look at a little bit of rice, maybe a somewhat representative example of a lot of the rice out there in the state right now. So a quick look around, it's really easy to pick out these tattered edges to leaves. Really kind of split, all to varying degrees depending on where you kind of look around. Getting kind of that odd appearance, really kind of torn. Again, some more severe than others. And really one additional thing to note, kind of wanted to make a point about in this video is that discoloration that's going along with that wind injury. So if we can kind of try to get a little bit better color look right here, okay, that's going to be pretty normal for those leaf tips when we get that kind of injury. To have some discoloration associated with a little chlorosis, necrosis, little dying of the tips. Most of this is not associated with anything else other than that wind injury. And as you kind of look across there, it really gives the field kind of of course, time of day is going to play a factor as well, how it looks. But it's going to give kind of that tip a little lighter, paler cast, like there could be something more going on. In most cases, that's really not true. Certainly some leaves a little more damaged than others, split completely apart. You'll find some with just holes in them. Not seeing those, of course, at the moment, but where like other leaf tips have really kind of cut through an existing leaf. So really just very common across the state right now. Again, the upside is the majority of the rice really looks good. Some of the leaves, again, a little bent and flailed about, but overall, true health of the rice crop as we look around, color's good, growth is good, everything's still really upright. You can see a leaf here, went ahead and kind of got bent over. That wind kind of broken just a little bit. Luckily, those aren't too common, but you can see a few of them if you really start looking hard at it. So at the end of the day, not a lot of impact from this type of injury out there, but what it does really do is add another layer of confusion to what's going on in the rice field. There are other problems I've already looked at recently where whether it be drift from nearby chemical application or even the actual onset of some possible early deficiency happening, it's another factor out there in the field that can give us a little bit of grief in diagnosing, the real problems out there in the rice. So trying to, take that into account when you're looking at your rice, that in most cases it's probably in really good shape, but it can take on an appearance right now of some possible potassium deficiency. Most of the time it's not, but with some of that firing almost appearance of the leaf tips, it can give you that vague appearance. If you're really uncertain, certainly reach out to me, one of the other specialists, or your local county agent. We always have time to run some tissue samples, especially on potash, to see if that's actually needed, if there is something going on. But again, in a lot of cases, it's probably just going to be this injury, and it's going to grow right out of the next leaves to come out and come out above are going to be clean, green, growing, very healthy, no problem. We just got a little bit of desiccation on those tips, some nutrient movement going on as a result of that, helping with that little discoloration. But ultimately, we should fare pretty well. Again, could have been a worse timing overall to have seen some of this wind injury and damage. So again, hopefully you can say the same. Few minor reports of wind actually putting rice down, and then a few small patches kind of leaned over. That also should mostly right itself, again, for the most part, early enough. So hopefully we really get that opportunity right now. And so with that, we'll conclude this edition of Rice and Advice. Good luck again through the rest of the season. Have a rice day.